good getting away from daddy ball. You know, it's good to get.
Who played? Yes.
Yeah, my oldest son. Yeah.
That'd be yes. Save me about 15 grand a year. That's good.
Yeah, he played freshman ball, first baseman, but I think maybe he's done. Might have 2 months left. Yeah, this year's tough.
What is it? It's crazy. We cut too much. Could be getting going.
Oh, good. All right, ready? Ready, Mr. Cameraman? Okay. Good evening and welcome to the 2019 Candidates Forum here in Westfield, sponsored by the Westfield Leader newspaper. I'm Fred Rossi with the Leader, and I want to thank the candidates tonight for taking part. Also, thank you to Westfield Television for broadcasting tonight's program. On November 5th, the voters in town will choose in each of the 4 wards, they'll choose individuals to serve on the town council for 4-year terms. In Ward 1, it's Democrat James Boyes and Republican Robert Bonaccio. In Ward 2, it's Democrat Mark Parmalee and Republican Richard Bodner, who was unfortunately unable to be here tonight. In Ward 3, we have Democrat Jennifer Gilman and Republican Mark LaGrippo. And in Ward 4, Democrat Scott Katz and Republican Doug Stokes. We have a lot of candidates up here tonight, so we're going to try to do our best to get in as many questions as possible. All the candidates will answer each of the questions tonight, and we'll start with the first ward candidates, then move to Ward 2, 3, and then 4. And then the second question, we'll start with Ward 2, 3, 4, and then back to 1, and so forth. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes, 90 seconds, to answer each question. And then at the end, everyone will have up to 3 minutes to deliver a closing statement. Very important, our timekeeper tonight is Chris Hinkey in the front row.
Hey,
and
Chris.
she will be doing her best to keep you guys informed of how much time you have left. She'll hold up a yellow card when 30 seconds are remaining, and then a red card when your time is up. So please keep Chris in your sights so I don't have to cut you off if you exceed your allotted time. Tonight's program will follow the guidelines of decorum and debate set out by the League of Women Voters. That is, no personal attacks and sticking to a discussion of the issues, not personalities. I'd also ask everyone here in the room with us to please stay quiet so we can hear the candidates, and please hold your applause until the very end. Anyone in the audience who decides to disrupt things with boos or cat calls will be asked to leave. And please turn off your phone ringers as well. So if everyone is ready to go, we'll start with the first question. We're going to talk about various downtown issues in a little bit. So except for the downtown, if that affects your ward, what are the main issues in your ward? And we'll start with Mr. Bonaccio.
Sure. Aside from the downtown, which a lot of folks mentioned to me while I'm walking, there are 2 main issues that I think are of main concern to the folks in our ward. One is we are blessed to have a lot of great student athletes in the ward, and I know the conditions of our fields and the ability to access them is something I hear about on a very, very regular basis. It takes too long to get there. The fields that we have aren't adequate enough for them, and they like to see improvements both in the near term and then in the long term. The second thing that is consistently raised as far as issues for the ward is the recent spate of thefts that we've had in the area. They'd like to see, obviously we need to help the police as much as we can by being responsible with vehicles and homes and locks, but they'd like to see a little bit more effort from something in the neighborhood of a neighborhood watch, or at least a neighborhood network, where information can get disseminated a little bit faster, where we can be a little bit proactive about other safety issues, say the new crossing guard setups and things of that nature. Those are really the 2 big things that I keep hearing from the ward. That and, of course, pedestrian safety as well, especially around Franklin School. We're blessed to have a very good crossing guard there. But again, we want to make sure that that contract, as it was set up, is set up and accessible the right way. We've got a little bit more work to do to make it perfect, but it's a good start. And I'm just glad we got to keep the person we have, frankly.
Thank you. And Mr. Boyes.
Thank you, Fred. The most common lament that I hear as I'm knocking on doors in the first ward is taxes. Taxes are driving us out of Westfield once our kids graduate, we're out of here. It should come to surprise to no one in this room that New Jersey, of course, is one of the highest tax states in the nation. And to alleviate pressure on taxpayers, we must continue to exercise strong fiscal management in our town government. And fortunately, the current administration have been excellent stewards of our money. Last year's municipal tax increase was just 0.5%, and this year, a flat tax. These are historically low numbers. The town added an additional $200,000 in additional revenue through a new cash management system, SMART. They purchased new DPW equipment to modernize our fleet and reduce our operating expenses, SMART. It's incredible what happens when you put a new set of eyes on an old problem. With so much of the municipal budget being non-discretionary, we need to look for ways to continue to make some gains. One of the areas could be insurance costs. Insurance pricing and market conditions fluctuate all the time, so you need to be constantly testing the market to get the best terms and conditions. This is one area where I believe my professional experience could be beneficial to the town council.
Thank you. On to Ward 2, Mr. Parmalee.
Thank you very much, Fred. I have to say, showing up is definitely not all of life, but it sure counts for a lot. And I've been showing up on a lot of doorsteps in Ward 2 and speaking to a lot of people about their concerns in the ward. So beyond downtown, which is certainly one of the key issues, the strategic parks plan and the pedestrian and bike safety issues are some of the key issues that are facing the ward. Through my kids, I've been closely involved in youth sports for many years, and improving the fields and the parks has been a key priority for me. Our youth teams should not have to practice or have games canceled in the dark or have those games outside of town. And implementing the strategic parks plan to create a smart growth and plan for the future based on the needs of the entire community is paramount. Taking a holistic approach and improving the parks to make that happen now and in the future. And regarding pedestrian bike safety, Westfield's working on improving safety by developing bike and safety plan that is actually partly funded by grants from the state DOT, and the idea is to incorporate it into the master plan. And we've seen steps that have been taken already: increased striping, signage, pedestrian crossing beacons, for example, on East Broad by the Temple, and on South by Kakiola near Bagel Chateau. So those are the issues that I believe are facing Ward 2 right now.
Great, thank you. And on to Ward 3, Mr. LaGrippo.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. As a father of 2 children who attended Jefferson Elementary and now at Edison Intermediate School, my kids are here tonight. Francesco and Gemma are in 6th and 7th grade. Thank you for being here. I'm also a coach to many more, and public safety is something that's always on my mind as a coach and as a parent. Over the years on town council, we have been through a significant increase in traffic flow, not only in the 3rd Ward, but throughout Westfield. There are approximately 30,000 cars a day that use the Central Avenue corridor. Increased development with 600 units in Garwood and possibly 900 more units in Cranford will only lead to increased traffic. As a member of the Public Safety Committee and the Bicycle Pedestrian Task Force, we are constantly looking for ways to improve safety. When commuters ask for a safer way to cross South Avenue or Boulevard, we worked with Union County to get a flashing beacon installed. This took several years working with the county. The program has been very successful. If you notice, we have extended beacons throughout other areas, and coming this fall will be a beacon at South Avenue and Kakiola. After listening to 3rd Ward residents, I personally advocated for a traffic light to be installed at Lambert's Mill and Rahway, which will be installed this coming summer. For those of you who attend St. Helens or Sycamore, Sid Fay, know how difficult it is to make the left-hand turn there. And I'm also happy to say in the 3rd Ward, we've paved the most roads than any other ward over the past 8 years. And I've always been supportive of the first responders and have proposals to hire new police officers and upgrade equipment for our first responders. Do you have a question, Mayor? Oh, okay.
Thank you. Okay,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Gilman.
Thank you. As I'm knocking on doors around Ward 3, and I'm knocking on them all, I really hear three main things. One is the infrastructure concerns that residents have here in town. So that really boils down to road paving and also flooding concerns. In Ward 3, we certainly have many hot button issues and areas with flooding. Some are on our roadways, others are in yards, and that's something that residents are really concerned about, as well as pedestrian and traffic safety. Sidewalks have come up quite a bit as I'm talking to people, either their lack of existence in certain areas, especially on main thoroughfares in the ward, as well as just the maintenance of them. And lastly, a big concern is the direct peak train service. As I'm talking to commuters, that is a huge concern that they have, and these have come up over and over again. And I've already started to advocate through attending rallies in terms of train service, advocating for that beacon light at Kakiola and South, and I will continue to do so with those three issues.
Thank you. On to Ward 4, Mr. Stokes.
Okay, thank you, Fred. So before I start talking about the concerns, I think I'd like to talk about some of the positives. And one of the main positives that I have in the Fourth Ward is that the residents really bond together. So when we had issues with the 69 kV line, the residents bonded together. Didn't matter political party. Councilwoman Mackey and myself, we get along quite well. We have a relationship besides just being council people together. We sign our emails together, and we respond to residents. So the positives are whoever becomes elected, they work together, and they care about the residents of Westfield. Now, with that being said, some of the major concerns I see, utility companies coming through, digging up our streets, putting up high power lines. As we request more infrastructure changes, even as we become more digital and more technology, that requires upgrades to systems, but they could impact our neighborhoods. We need to make sure we handle that smartly. And right now, I'm working with Councilman Contract and some neighbors in the Fourth Ward, and we've managed to get PSE&G to move that and consider a different route. Also, Tamaulipas Park, we need playing fields for our kids, enough already. And finally, to close, this is a democracy, and I think, I don't know if it's allowed, but when we start off meetings, we normally pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, both Democrat and Republican, because that's what we stand for. So I think that we should, answer my question, pledge allegiance to the flag.
Let's finish up with Mr. Katz.
Thank you, Fred. So when I first started knocking on doors, especially down on Nancy Way, I noticed that every single person I talked to, I was with my brother Jay actually to begin with. Every house I walked into, every house I knocked on, said the roads were in complete disrepair. Sorry, guys. I'm having a bit of a moment. I apologize to myself, actually. There are three issues that matter most to me in our town, in our ward. First would be the road paving. The second would be our parks, especially Tamaulipas, and the third would be the peak one-seat ride. I live across the street from Tamaulipas Park. It's a very important part of my experience here in Westfield. And I want to maintain that natural beauty of our park. I know we need a lot of fields. I know it's very important. My son plays travel baseball. But I also appreciate the beauty of that park. We just had a nice meet and greet across the street at my neighbor Sean Garnhart's this weekend. And many of the neighbors really expressed to me how important that park is to us, and how important and how much they're looking to count on me to help maintain the natural beauty. I know that we need to add more fields for our kids, but at the same time, I don't think it makes sense to turn that into a sporting facility. As far as a peak one-seat ride, it's very important. It'll help our home values. It's something that I don't think that we should have accepted the off-peak one-seat ride. I'm not sure why we did in the past, but it's something that we should definitely keep fighting towards.
Okay, thank you. Before we go to the next question, let's do this and then move on.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, for the second question, we're going to start with Ward 2, and then 3, 4, and then back to 1. This is for Mr. Parmalee. In the downtown, we see a number of storefronts now vacant. Why do you think this is, and what can the town council do about it?
So the setbacks we've experienced are rooted in decisions that were made and not made more than a decade ago. And frankly, there's no one reason why there's vacancies downtown. And so logically, there's no one solution or magic bullet that's going to cure it. But by implementing the town's first community-driven master plan process, the mayor and the administration is helping set Westfield on track for the future by doing the work to get us ahead of the curve. And what we've seen is the progress in the new businesses that are actually coming in. Fair and Noble, Warby Parker, one of only 2 stores in New Jersey, Boxwood Coffee, Acting Out, Design Hub, Innovation Taco, Buddha Fish, other restaurants like Spice Bazaar, Midtown Authentic, and Fettle and Fair are expanding to meet customer demand and doubling down on their commitment to Westfield. And we're soon going to have our first brewery, and we're going to be able to enjoy Bear Burger with a view. And so that's a result of direct, newly enacted pro-growth ordinances that allow microbreweries and rooftop dining here in Westfield. These are modern quality of life expectations and a proactive driver for economic growth. And all of these are soundly supported by the master plan participants and the respondents.
Thank you. On to Ward 3, Mr. LaGrippo.
Regarding downtown, there's many things that attracted my wife Maria here, who's here this evening, to Westfield, and mainly due to its old world charm. We love the Rialto. When we were first looking for houses in Westfield, we stopped at Westfield Diner for breakfast, and the downtown just felt right. It was the right fit for us. We always imagined when our kids would grow older, they would spend time downtown with their friends, going to the movies, having lunch, having dinner. Unfortunately, over the past few years, there's been a significant increase in empty storefronts. A lot of this is a result of the digital era, such as Amazon, and Westfield doesn't have the foot traffic that other towns have. Summit, for example, has the hospital. Morristown has Drew University, so we don't have that foot traffic coming in downtown. As councilman, I've worked closely with the mayor on the new updated master plan, and hopefully this will increase foot traffic moving forward. Me personally, our family always support our Southside businesses. I get my haircut on the Central Avenue Barbershop. We frequent Out of Hand Pizza, Buono Pizza, Tutti Baci, and wherever we could help keep the downtown businesses thriving. And 7 years ago, we put a proposal in to upgrade the lot number 7, which did add additional 11 spots, but there's a lot more to do. Thank you.
Okay, and Mrs. Gilman?
Thank you. This is not a problem that's unique to Westfield, and it's not one that just popped up overnight. This has been years in the making, and part of Westfield's reliance on the national chains and that downturn has really impacted us here. And previous complacency that didn't take action beforehand has kind of led us here. I'm thrilled by our master plan process that the town has gone through this year to get that public input and to have everyone contribute their voice to the master plan is really going to give us a vision for the next 10 years, give us something to provide prospective business owners with so that they can see if their vision for their business meshes with our future. In addition to that, a big piece of increasing foot traffic will be addressing parking. So parking not just for residents when we go to shop, although it is nice to get a spot right outside of Ono Bowls, but really so that we can have parking for employees, so that we have daytime foot traffic in town, because right now we're supporting all of the businesses as residents, and that's really not enough to make it right now. So addressing parking is a big deal, and I've also started to meet with and form further relationships, not just as a business patron, but as a prospective councilwoman with the business owners here in town too. Thanks.
On to Ward 4, Mr. Stokes.
Okay, obviously, people move into Westfield for the schools, the town, and we're working on the one-seat ride and improving the commute to New York City. So the town is a major anchor for people moving into Westfield and wanting to stay in Westfield. So that's one of the reasons why we moved here, fortunate enough that we can walk to town. We enjoy doing it. We do it as a family often. But yes, there are a lot more vacancies, and that is concerning. But with the last administration, we had a Westfield task force, and we've acted on some of those with the current mayor and the current council that allowed for rooftop bars, that allowed for better signage, that allowed for a microbrewery to come in. So what we need to do is we need to continue to look at past task force, have a group that's together now, including business owners, landlords, and come together because, you're right, Ms. Farnley, it's not a magic bullet solution. It's not one person. It's a community involved in getting input from residents. But as Councilman LaGrippo mentioned, Amazon and technology, I myself had to do a better job, I can admit it. It's easier to go on your computer and just buy something and have it delivered to your door. As residents, we need to promote our downtown, and our people care about it, they love it, they hate seeing the vacancies, but we also need to go visit it more. So it's also about the advertising and making downtown user-friendly, and that includes better pedestrian safety, bike lanes, and of course, parking. But my role is to continue to support, as I currently do, and we approve ordinances, but also, as we move forward, start thinking more outside the box. Putting up a rooftop bar is outside the box for Westfield.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Katz.
I think that there's a bit of a false narrative going on here. Since I moved to Westfield 17 years ago, I think that our downtown restaurant scene is more exciting than it's ever been. We had a big lack of diversity in our food offerings. Now we have amazing sushi. We have very interesting Indian food. You can do karaoke and have twice fried Korean fried chicken. So I think we're turning into a bit of a culinary destination like Morristown and Montclair. And to me, it's very exciting. I lived in New Orleans. I came from Hoboken. And for me, for a long time, I used to leave the town of Westfield to go to dine. And it's very exciting to go to Saturday night, to go out and sit outside and have a really great, interesting meal. So I know there are some storefronts that are empty, but I think we have a lot of amazing things going on. This administration is doing a great job. We've had some exciting events. Adams Fest, obviously going on right now, is really fun, really exciting. Shutting down Quimby Street for things like yoga, which obviously is very important to me. Among other things, the Sweet Sounds of Summer were really cool this year. We had instead of just having jazz acts, we expanded out to other acts. So we're building the brand of Westfield. We're bringing people back into Westfield. So we may not be selling shoes on one corner anymore because you can order shoes and get 10 pairs sent to your house, try them on and send them all back with no charge. But what we need to do is think outside the box, like you said, Doug, but really have interesting, creative retailers.
Okay, back to Ward 1, Mr. Bonaccio.
Sure. So a couple of weeks ago, I had the opportunity to go to the first annual Hunterdon County Economic Development Summit. And attending that summit were a group of towns, and this should sound familiar, out in Hunterdon County who had historically significant downtowns that had anchor stores that had been there forever and that unfortunately had fallen out of business for whatever reason it may be. And they were looking to keep themselves revitalized while also keeping their character. And I said, well, boy, where else have I heard that? So we're right. This is certainly not a problem that's unique to Westfield. But what I enjoyed about that summit was listening to the mayors of those towns step up and talk about how quickly they were able to turn around some of the issues they had, how quickly they were able to rent the empty spaces, to turn, a former pottery company into a brewery and things of that nature, which are all the things that we very much want to see happen here. And the words I kept hearing over and over again were rapid pace, record time. And, well, it's fantastic to have this planning process. I think we've stalled a little bit in moving forward on other recommendations where we could have been moving forward in record time as these towns are. So I want to use them as an example and as a model, see what it is that they're doing. One of it is making it a heck of a lot easier for people to open business. I'd like to see incentives to tenants, a little bit money back in their pocket to develop. I'd like to see an improvement in parking that we tie to a downtown app. That would allow us to find spots through the app that are open so we stop circling around. I'd also like to see the development of a network of folks that can work together with downtown business owners and in-town businesses to build connections to the downtown, working together to develop the buildings that are there.
Thank you. Mr. Boyce?
So the causes of these vacancies in the downtown basically boil down to lack of weekday foot traffic and parking issues. Some of the short-term solutions we are currently working on, those include the incremental parking improvements and, of course, the ordinance changes that were referred to earlier. But the long-term solution is really embodied in the master plan. And a key component of that, I believe, will be the addressing our long-standing parking issues. I had the pleasure of serving on the Mayor's Parking Advisory Committee back in 2001 under Republican Mayor Greg McDermott, and we identified a number of key areas, key improvements that could have been undertaken. Unfortunately, the mayor at the time chose to not follow those recommendations. However, I think that through the master plan, we'll have another a bite at the apple. I am not so nearly glum on the prospects for downtown as some were saying. Mark mentioned a number of the new arrivals in town, and I think they demonstrate that Westfield does remain a very desirable community. I anxiously await the finalization of the master plan, and with its completion, I think it's worth noting that it would be good to have an engineer on the council as we look forward to implementing the master plan recommendations. Thank you.
Thanks. We're going to start next with Ward 3 and Mr. LaGrippo. If the Rialto Theater can't be reopened as a movie theater, what do you think should be done with this iconic landmark?
Well, personally, I'd like to see it as possibly an arts center, possibly a mixed-use development, but I would like to see the Rialto reopen. Obviously, the theater viewing has changed over the years. Most recently, in Watchung, there's a brand-new theater. So I do understand how difficult it is for the Rialto to maybe obtain business. But going forward, I'd love to see it as a cultural hub, similar to other towns in the state of New Jersey. And obviously, you travel around the country, you see what could be accomplished there, either a performing arts center or some type of something dedicated to the arts. So hopefully that's what will happen if the Rialto doesn't open.
Okay, Mrs. Gilman?
Thank you. I actually don't accept that question because to me, it not existing in town as the Rialto is not an option. And I don't see it as one. I think whether we seek historic designation for the Rialto or however we need to brainstorm together as a community to preserve it is what needs to be done. I know that the mayor has been in active communication with the owners of the property and has echoed those sentiments. So I'm not concerned about the Rialto being turned into apartments as some on Facebook might be rumor milling, but it's important landmark in our town, and we need to protect it as such. And to have a venue where we can either see movies or live performance or a combination of that, there are really endless possibilities for it. But it is going to take a team to do that. It's going to, we need litigation to be resolved first and foremost, and then we can move on to the future with the Rialto. But I'm not concerned whatsoever that it is going to go by the wayside in town. Because it really is such a gem for us here.
Okay, on to Ward 4, Mr. Stokes.
Okay. Obviously, the Rialto is a major staple in the town of Westfield. Minnewacan Park, we're celebrating the 100th anniversary of Minnewacan Park. Also, the Rialto Theater is about to celebrate its 100th anniversary of when it was constructed in Westfield. So I agree. Historical preservation seems to be the way to go if we cannot turn it back into a movie theater. The Facebook responses and emails about the Rialto, it really tugs at people's heartstrings. So I agree. To save the Rialto as it is, we need to figure out a way how to do that. That's talking with the owners, as the mayor has done. But understand the owner can still make his or her own business decision. It's just like if you own your own home, you can make your own decision on what you need to do with your home also. But the landlord, so we have to work with the landlord and the tenant. But yes, it should stay open and at least as a performing arts center if we cannot keep it as a movie theater and stay positive.
Okay, Mr. Katz?
So the other day in preparation for this debate, which clearly I froze a few minutes ago, so I apologize to the crowd. I actually stumbled upon the opening credits to the TV show Ed, where there's sort of a driving around town in Stuckyville, and to see the Rialto, and it made me realize what a treasure the Rialto is and was to our town. So, let's be honest with all of ourselves here. There are some people that have really been committed to going to movies at the Rialto, but it's the quality of films there, just the quality of the presentation relative to what's out there is just not up to speed. So clearly something has to happen. I believe that the owners understand that the Rialto needs to stay the same, the facade needs to stay the same, but it's such a great opportunity to bring the community together, for us to have the potential for live music, for some better food there, to have a performing arts center for the local talented singers and actors in town would be incredible, not to mention to bring in really world-class theater. I think that would be a really huge win for our town. So.
Back to Ward 1, Mr. Bonaccio.
Sure. The Hunterdon County EDA Summit's going to be the best ticket I purchased all year, it sounds like. So I'm gonna go back to them and talk about something that Clinton Township, I believe it was, has done with a similar art space that, again, just fell into disrepair and had its own set of litigation. They turned that space into an arts haven, which was a great mix of spaces where you could screen films, where you had high-end dining that would attract foot traffic in, which is based on my commercial real estate experience, an anchor for any kind of business downtown that you want to keep preserved. They kept movie screens. They had art centers for kids, and I reached out and I thought I was going to be the first one to plug Drew, but Mark beat me to it, which is a shocker. I've reached out to the university and said, how can the university partner with us here? How can the university bring classes here, use that performance space, whether it be screens, a stage, or a mix of both, to bring a new set of faces to downtown and a new life and vitality to a place that we all absolutely love. And I'll tell you, the folks from the theater department couldn't have been more excited about the possibility. So I think we do have to get through the litigation. We do have to get through whatever the ownership has to work with. I think there's been a commitment from the ownership to make this work. And I think if we're going to start making this place commercially viable, well, aesthetically the same as what we're looking at, we have to look at how to mix those two things together. So I say let's do it all. Let's get the arts in, let's get the kids in, let's get the schools in, and let's keep the screens.
Okay, Mr. Boyce?
Thank you. I have to second both what the First Ward candidates said in regard to the Rialto. I definitely believe that we should work to keep the Rialto a viable operation. Hopefully the Rialto's owners, through the town's reaction to its closing, are now convinced that this is a facility that needs to remain in Westfield, and they can leverage that to attract investment to renovate and upgrade the theater. Yes, our movie-going experience has changed quite a bit, and people do tend to like a more, kind of a plush experience with the comfortable seats and the concessions and so forth. However, the Rialto is really a landmark location in our town, and we need to do all we can to preserve its historical qualities, but also have it continue as a viable entertainment option for everyone. Thank you.
Okay, and Mr. Parmalee?
All right, Brett, I'm going to write your headline for tomorrow. All 7 candidates agree that the Rialto needs to be saved. I mean, obviously, I agree that I love the Rialto. It's one of the reasons that I love Westfield. As the mayor's made clear in several communications with the town, she's in regular contact with both parties, and the town has certainly been engaged in providing input with respect to that. The reality is the business landscape for movie theaters has just simply changed. I mean, just look at the Cinemark in Plainfield and the AMC in Mountainside. And so the Westfield Rialto just simply needs to be reimagined. And this is an opportunity for Westfield to work with the owner, who is in the process of actually reinventing the Bellevue in Montclair, and is actually committed to bring the Rialto back. The theater is definitely something that contributes to a healthy downtown, and we need to look at everything to make it a better experience. And even, I just noticed recently, the mayor set up an investment advisory committee looking for investors to contribute to the Rialto. The reality is it comes down to parking as well, and it's a threefold issue. Parking involves commuters, employers, and shoppers. And we need to address the strategies for all three, and the town recognizes this. 52% of the respondents to the master plan agree that it's very important. So in addition to working with Rialto, we have to coincide and work on parking issues as well.
The next question, we're going to start with Mr. Stokes. With the downtown in Westfield kind of in a transition period, where do you see the downtown going in the coming years? Would you like to see more mom-and-pop stores or specialty shops or big retail chain stores again, or more restaurants? What ideas do you have?
I guess if it's safe to say, I'd like to see a little bit of both. It was very interesting the other day. I was at the train station, and I ran into a resident and said it feels like that Westfield is at this divide of the Westfield of old versus the Westfield of new. And he asked me, where do you think it's going to go? And I don't know if I can necessarily answer where do I think it's going to go, but I think that comes back to where we need all constituents in town, all stakeholders involved, not just doing surveys, but meeting in committee to decide where they want Westfield to go. So we can hold on to the mom and pop stores, but like I mentioned earlier, we need to go shopping at those mom and pop stores, but also we can make it a dining mecca. We can improve the Rialto Theater, so we make it attractive for the young, but keep it for the old also. I have 4 children. My youngest is a senior. Am I moving out? I don't know, but a lot of people do, as mentioned earlier, because of the high taxes in the downtown, but people are attracted to Westfield. So we need to look at many different avenues to keeping our downtown attractive for the young, the old, and still a place where our own children can go and enjoy downtown with their friends and not just go to the mall.
Mr. Katz?
Well, clearly before I talked about how I thought that Westfield was turning into a bit of a culinary town, and I think that we should try to keep promoting that just as a way to bring people here. But we can't just be a one-sided culinary town. We need fun shops. I think the day of bringing in the large corporations here, I think that's kind of over. It would be great to bring in smaller shop owners that maybe have 2 or 3 shops throughout the state, maybe shops in Princeton and Hoboken and Morristown. It would be interesting to have these independent-minded stores, because right now there doesn't seem to be too much of a difference between buying something online from Victoria's Secret and buying it from the store or going to the mall. So we need to do something a little more interesting. We need to bring people in that are willing to really, as we said before, step out of the box and bring retail outlets that are a little bit more interesting than just buying a product. So if you look at if you've been to Spice Bazaar, they have this very cool dessert where it's a big egg, and they break the egg in front of you and ice cream plops out. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but tableside service in our restaurants is going to bring people back. So I think innovative retailers versus the exact specific type of retailers is something that we need in Westfield.
Okay, thanks. We're going to go back to Ward 1 and Mr. Bonaccio.
Sure, I think if we're going to revitalize the downtown, we need to do a couple things. Number one is we need to support the businesses that we have, because they are the anchors that are keeping us where we are today. And there aren't any steps that we can possibly take that should be detrimental to the businesses that are here. They're here, they're dedicated, they're committed to Westfield, and we need to support them and make sure that they are the folks who are welcoming the new businesses in, not competing with them necessarily. I wish I knew exactly what businesses to bring in. If I did, I'd be making a lot of money, and I'd be donating it back to the town, I guess, and to fields and to sports and such. I've learned for commercial real estate work that you need to get the right mix of what fits in the town and what's going to be profitable. I think independent-minded stores, those smaller storefronts, specialty things that you can't get online, are going to be a key in that. And it's why I am very much in support of more flexibility in zoning and in the ordinances that we have downtown, because those independent stores have extreme difficulty getting started because of the high startup costs for it. I mean, I sit on the Board of Adjustment. I watched a real estate agency is spending 6 months before the board to get tweaks to signage. We can't do that. That's not welcoming to business. Other towns that have faced a similar problem, I'm going to go to Hunterdon for a 3rd time, they just changed the ordinance. They have a way to fix it and fix it quickly, so that we are not putting up financial barriers to these independent-minded stores and these small businesses that want to open. We've got to make Westfield a place you want to make a home for your business, not just someplace that's going to rent you a box.
Okay, thanks. And Mr. Boyce?
Thank you. In terms of the overall economic vitality of the downtown, I believe both the town of Westfield and the Downtown Westfield Corporation have important roles in this challenge. As a member of the Green Team, I actually happen to sit on the Economic Vitality Subcommittee within the DWC, and I can assure you that they are looking at all these various avenues, including types of businesses that would be appropriate for our downtown. But, you know, I think, unfortunately, a lot of these issues come back to parking. We lobby businesses to come to Westfield, and then once they get here, they walk around and they look and see, well, where are we going to get parking for our employees? Another issue is the weekday foot traffic for these businesses to survive. And there again, I think we need to be able to increase that, and one of the ways might be through attracting more employees into the downtown area. And for that, once again, that kind of goes back to parking. So again, I'm looking forward to the finalization of the master plan and how we can address that parking component.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Parmalee?
I have to say, I agree with Mr. Katz when he says he doesn't buy into the narrative that the downtown is failing right now. I think the downtown is alive and active. You know, just literally just a couple days ago, I had to wait an hour and a half to get my food from Spice Bazaar, but that's, I guess I don't have an inn over there. I think what it comes down to is, you know, we've seen from the master plan that the community is going to support higher density development also, surrounding downtown and the transit hubs and around the train station. And that kind of development does actually help drive the downtown economy. And given the cost barriers to entry into Westfield, the development draws younger families, new families, Westfield kids who want to return to the community, and also provides seniors a way to downsize and stay into the community that they love so much. You know, obviously we want to encourage growth, but we want to make sure that Westfield keeps looking like Westfield. The other thing I think that downtown is benefiting from recently are the new and updated community events. Because I think they're just impactful to growth because they really support and centralize foot traffic downtown. Routinely turning Quimby Street into pedestrian plaza has changed the way we experience downtown. Adams Fest, it sold out in hours, and it showed us the power of our community story. It's actually got national news coverage and engagement. MGM, Hershey, news channels, a friend of mine was just on Fox TV, and publishers as well. It engages the community in the process, and it was profitable in its first year. And also updating Sweet Sounds into a music festival has shown us what making Tuesdays, or how Tuesdays can make Westfield even better.
Okay, Mr. LaGrippo?
Well, one of my fondest memories growing up on Long Island was going downtown with my friends and meeting up with them. And back then it was going downtown and not so much to a mall. And I really want the same experience for my kids to be able to go downtown. And over the change in the retail paradigm shift, obviously there's a lot more people buying online, which is contributing. So do we go back to a mom and pop, which was what the original question was, or do we stay looking for the big chains? So one thing I do here as a councilman, I don't know if anyone else wants to address it, is the rents are high. So a lot of businesses have told me personally, they looked at Westfield, compared it to surrounding towns, and the square footage was high. And I've looked into it on my end as much as I could, but it does appear that Westfield rents are high. So if me and you want to start a business, we don't have that kind of capital. We might have a great idea, but we don't have the kind of capital to keep that business flowing. So I think at the end, we have to be a destination as far as businesses like Yestercades, which has brought a lot of people into town. So I'm confident. I think the downtown went through a downturn in the early 90s until big retail chains came in. So I'm confident that we'll gain our footing and with additional foot traffic, and we'll be fine in the next few years moving forward.
Okay, Mrs. Gilman?
Thank you. To answer the question, I think any business that wants to open up, we should try to foster and encourage that. A variety of businesses, of course, is going to draw more people to downtown, and I fully support a mom and pop or a national or somewhere in between. It certainly isn't easy to be a business owner with a storefront nowadays. You really have to think outside of the box. I think a big piece of that is our Downtown Westfield Corporation being able to support the new businesses that are looking to open here in Westfield, and when they do open, what kind of support they've given. I think we're in a transition there. I'm excited for the opportunity that the DWC is going to have moving forward. I do want to touch upon rents. Previous years, maybe 5 or 10 years ago, Westfield rents were higher. Now they are more in line with what we're seeing in Summit and Cranford and not totally out of realm. That doesn't mean it's easy to be a storefront business owner, but we are on par as other towns are. Parking is a big thing that we need to address for that. Just to touch on Mr. Bonaccio, when we're talking about changing our zoning laws, I do agree to a certain extent. I want to be conscientious when we're talking about Ward 3 and the business areas that we have in Ward 3 and making sure that our zoning laws that we have for businesses, i.e. whether we want a 24-hour business near residential areas is looked at really closely, because I know it's a concern for us in Ward 3. While supporting businesses on Central Ave and South Ave is paramount, we also need to be really smart when we're changing our zoning laws for that.
Okay, thanks. Now we're going to start again with the Ward 1 candidates and move in order. Use your time wisely. 90 seconds. What ideas do you have for keeping municipal expenses under control and municipal revenues healthy? Mr. Boyd, no, we'll start with Mr. Bonaccio, I'm sorry.
Okay. So we have to be cautious with, well, first of all, you can't argue with zero, right? So we've done a good job keeping the town's portion of the tax low from one administration to zero to this. So that's been a good job. What we have to do to be fiscally responsible about our budget is to budget like we do with our families. We have to first spend on the things that we have to. There's a lot of non-discretionary spending in our budget, so there's really only so much we can really do. But within those non-discretionary avenues, we can't just assume that there aren't ways to find separate cost savings there. You can negotiate labor contracts differently. You can work with insurance as well. There's a number of different ways to even take those non-discretionary costs and get them a little smaller. So we need to be active in doing that and looking at new ways to get the base costs done. Then you've got to look at what you have to do, okay? We have to look at the things that we have to decide as a community and the things that we must spend on. I think we must spend on fields. We have to budget as a this or that scenario. Can we deal with spending money on this when we really need to spend on that? And that takes a difficult process. It's a long process. It's understanding the community, and it's making difficult choices. But that's what we're here for. That's why you'll put me in this seat if you vote for me. Once you're through with that, then you talk about what you'd like to do. And that's how you're going to keep your budget the most under control. The only other thing that concerns me that I'm seeing is we are spending down our surplus a little too quickly. We're using it to raise the floor for what our budget is. We've got to be a bit careful about using our savings to fund our recurring expenses. You don't use your 401k to pay your lighting bill. So we're moving a little bit in that direction, and I just want to make sure that we keep that a bit under control.
Okay, Mr. Boyes.
Thank you. As I just mentioned earlier, I believe that the current municipal budget is well managed, but there's no telling what a new set of eyes on a problem can find new areas or sources of additional revenue. I do like the fact that the town has been proactive in a number of areas, including purchases of capital equipment and DPW equipment. By making those purchases proactively, you can reduce your long-term maintenance costs. There are other areas where we can also focus on in terms of just utilizing technology to be more efficient, and I have to commend the current administration for some of their improvements they've made in that area. For example, with the Westfield Connect. With that app, people are able to, log complaints and generate work orders without ever actually having to pick up the phone and involve 2 to 3 people before that issue gets addressed. So I think technology, a new set of eyes, and I think we can continue to make improvements on our budget.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Parmalee.
Thank you. So the current administration's key and eye on fiscal responsibility has been one of the primary reasons that I've been interested in running, because I think they've done such a great job so far. As Mr. Bonaccio points out, a zero municipal tax increase for the first time ever. The town has been able to maintain a healthy target level surplus of between $9.5 to $10 million. Maintain the town's AAA bond rating. We've taken steps to update the town's cash management program that generated an additional 6-figure in interest returns. The town instituted, among other things, the first RFP for town services. And what that did was saved roughly $200,000 on healthcare costs. And all of the times while utilizing this excess surplus to invest in long-needed infrastructure and improvements and upgrades. And part of that has been 20 miles of road repairs. The town currently has accelerated equipment replacement. And what that's done is cut nearly $100,000 from the maintenance budget. So what the town has to continue doing is to continue invest in technology and automation to be effective, cost-efficient, and also convenient to the residents of the town. The Westfield Connect app, as Mr. Boyce points out, digitizing the town code, electronic permitting for builders. So those are the steps I think the town has successfully taken, and those are the steps that we need to take going forward.
Thank you. And Ward 3, Mr. LaGrippo.
Well, I was, I don't know, fortunate or unfortunate, I was councilman during Hurricane Sandy, so I know the importance firsthand to have a rainy day fund. I was also elected right after the financial crisis about 9 years ago. And at that time, we were very lucky that our houses maintained our value better than most of the United States because Westfield was so well financially managed. But when you go to door, the resounding issue I hear from residents is the high cost of living in Westfield and New Jersey. And the fear is people are afraid they're not going to be able to stay near their families for future generations. As a longstanding councilman, I know firsthand, I was on the finance committee of being fiscally responsible. And the town has always been well managed financially. And if we're going to use any surplus, I would recommend that we use a surplus to help alleviate some of the tax burden for our seniors.
Okay, Mrs. Gilman.
Thank you. I agree that we need to be extremely fiscally responsible as elected officials, and maintaining our budget surplus from around the 20% mark of our total budget is what the experts recommend, and the current administration has done that over the past 2 years well. This year, having a 0% tax levy increase, which I think we all appreciated during our revaluation. That being said, we also shouldn't be overtaxing residents and therefore resulting in a surplus that's not needed. So we need to be respectful. I also hear that the high taxes are a concern here. Aside from just being smart with our budgeting, I think we also need to be proactive when it comes to seeking grants from the state and the county. So the biggest chunk of our property taxes go to the Board of Ed, and then the next biggest chunk goes to the county. And we need to be proactively getting as many of those dollars back here in Westfield. The great news is we are undergoing this massive master plan process that is, for the first time ever, getting public input. It's comprehensive in everywhere that it looks for our town. And the state and county see that. Actually, with our pedestrian and cycling safety, it was just the grant that we received from the state originally just was dealing with Central Avenue. But once they saw the comprehensive master plan process, they extended that to cover the whole town. So by having this master plan in our hands and this proactive approach, we'll be able to get more back.
Okay, thank you. On Ward 4, Mr. Stokes.
Okay. First of all, thank you, everyone. As a current council person on the Finance Committee for the last several years, I thank you for recognizing all that we have done. But it's not just the council people on the committee, it's also the whole council approving it. But the other part that we're missing is the importance of hiring great people. We have a great accountant, Scott Olson. We have a great town administrator in Jim Gilday. And we meet as a finance committee for hours, long hours, over winter months. And we go through every department, every line item, and we decide what is needed and what is not. So, for instance, the Green Team. I support Green Team initiatives. Thank you for serving, Mr. Boyce. But at the same time, maybe we can offset what the Green Team wants by applying for grants, and that's what they're doing. So we're not giving away, but we also recognize that Westfield has to look into other things like being green and being smart. All that happens at the Finance Committee. So there's a balance and an ebb and flow by how much do you give, and we reanalyze that every year. And we also look for other opportunities like grants. Mentioned before, since I've been on council, we will be replacing our whole entire DPW fleet. It's going to be branded with the new Westfield logo, and it's all out. And we didn't do that with bond, we did it with cash. And on top of that, we purchased 2 street cleaners. Hopefully you have seen them. We looked into getting 2 more, and we realized that we don't need 2 more. 2 are enough for what we need in town. So therefore, we're constantly looking. I believe in a healthy surplus, but the 9.5, 10 million is fine with me, because I believe that we should be investing, and I think lowering taxes for seniors is a great avenue to look at. And also, just on another side note.
I'm going to have to cut you off because we're just to be in fairness to everybody. On to Mr. Katz.
Well, first I'd like to say kudos to Ms. Gilman for having an amazing answer. You really did a much better job than I think any of us are going to do up here relative to this question. I think it's very important to have a strong surplus. I think you're right. We need to save for that rainy day, but not at the expense of our infrastructure. Our roads were just horrendous. I don't know why over these years this year we did 20 miles of roads. Over the last 4 years, we did 16 miles of roads, and we had a major surplus. It doesn't make any sense to me. I have a logistics and operations background. To me, it just insults my sensibilities in my operations background that we have not invested over the years properly in our infrastructure and in our logistics. So I don't want to go to, parking violations to start raising money to pay our bills. I mean, there's got to be better ways. There are grants. We have taken a lot of money from, we've gotten a lot of money from the county, from the state. There are ways we can get grants, as Ms. Gilman alluded to. So if we have, our expenses should, our money, our surplus should be spent on our infrastructure, on our technology, our maintenance items, ways that we can make it more efficient for us going to the future, instead of just sitting on a pot of money that's never going to go back to our town, and that's where I feel.
Okay. We'll move on to the Ward 2 for the next question. More than 20% of local property taxes currently go to Union County. Are you satisfied that Westfield gets its tax money's worth back from the county government?
Well, I think that's one of the issues that the town needs to work on, is to continue to seek services and to get its fair share of its taxes back from Union County. Part of that has to be through aggressive grant applications to the county and state. And I think just understanding how the grant process works, what it does is it's supposed to reward foresight, and it's supposed to incentivize foresight. In the past years, the reason there were no grant applications is because the town didn't have that kind of foresight. Now what it's doing is it's been able to receive grants, and it's been able to get that money from places like Union County and from the state, based on the fact that they are implementing a master plan, and these different grant programs can actually see that the town has a future plan. And so now that we're implementing that community-involved master plan, we've seen already the different grants for example, I opened on that on pedestrian and bike safety. Those are the things that we need to do with Union County.
Okay. On to Ward 3, Mr. LaGrippo.
Well, last year I was actually, I was very excited when my good friend Kim Palmieri-Mooted was elected to the Freeholder Board. I thought it was awesome that we had a freeholder representing us in Union County, which for a long time we never had that. And I've actually reached out to Kim several times with concerns from constituents and town matters. What a lot of people don't know, approximately 22% of our tax dollars go to Union County. We're the 10th largest municipality in Union County, and yet we get the least back in amount of services. So I have no problem. I work with many of the Union County freeholders directly to get as much back for Westfield. And I have no problem working with Republicans, Democrats, or anyone. Excuse me, Mayor, you making a face again? Oh, yeah. Well, that's kind of rude, to be honest with you.
Let's move on.
Good. So I'll work with Republicans, Democrats to get the job done.
Okay. Mrs. Gilman?
Yes, I agree. Having a freeholder from Westfield is a huge benefit for us. Because our, as Mr. LaGrippo said, we give such a large chunk of our property taxes right over to the county, we need to be proactive in seeking them back. And I think I touched upon that in the prior question. And so I think we need to apply for the grants that we can, looking at shared services for sure, where it's applicable. I don't think in every case it is, but where it is, we should absolutely take advantage of that. And I don't have anything else to add.
We'll move to Mr. Stokes.
Well, so also knowing Kim and the fact that she lives in the Fourth Ward is definitely a benefit to the town of Westfield. I like to look at it as the conversations have now started. It's now been brought to the attention of all of Union County and to the county coffers. It's time to start having conversations about how Westfield is going to get some of the money back, because now we're really not accepting it anymore. And one of those conversations has already occurred, and then more are to follow. And I think if we continue to have the conversations with the county, and we look at the county and looking at the way like we do on the finance committee, they start looking line item by line item, looking at each town. Sort of like how we're looking at the one-seat ride now, we're looking at usage in different towns and who should have more one-seat rides based on usage. Well, we also need to look at our towns as we're looking at money that is going to the county. Some of the things that have also happened, the county helped pave Broadway Avenue. For someone that's against signs, this county put up a great big sign, and we know that that's okay, because the county wants to show that they're investing back in Westfield. So I'm okay if the county puts up signs every now and then to help give back to Westfield. And we have seen that with some of our hawk lights, and when we look at other, intersections, like Broadway and Lambert's Mill, the county is also involved in that. And of course, we should apply for grants whenever possible.
Mr. Katz?
Did you repeat the question? I was a little taken aback by Mr.
Yeah, the 20% of the local property taxes here go to Union County, and are you satisfied that Westfield gets its tax money's worth back?
Well, as you alluded to, we're very proud to have a freeholder in Ward 4, Kim Udad. I believe they've done a pretty good job helping us out. They gave us $90,000 for road paving initiative. They helped us out with Adams Fest, with our multicultural festival. They provided some services for us. I think that we don't live in an island. We live in the town of Westfield, but we need the county, we need the state. We all have to work together, and I think we're very lucky to have a very good relationship with them. By me, I mean the current administration. Currently, obviously, I'm not on that administration, but it appears as if we do have a very good relationship, and I don't see any reason why we wouldn't have that going forward.
Okay, Mr. Bonaccio?
Sure, so if you drive down to Trenton, you see a bridge that goes across the river to Pennsylvania. It says Trenton makes, the world takes. Well, what I see here is Westfield makes, the county takes. And it's far too much. It's $41 million of our money that goes to the county. And we spend our time petitioning for just a small portion of it back. And the grants are good, and that's the process that we have to get into. But I think we really need to change our relationship with the county and start asking why they're taking as much as they're taking, and not letting that money stay in Westfield, where we can use our fiscal responsibility. We can use the fact that we are reached out into the community to put that money to the best possible use that we can here for the town of Westfield. My kids ask for money all the time. They want, a couple of dollars for this or a couple of dollars for that. And at some point I want to give it to them, but at another point I've got to stop, because they're not learning a sense of responsibility if I just keep giving them everything they need. So I think we need to find a different balance from what the county is taking from us. We need to encourage them to change those percentages, leave more money in the town of Westfield so we can do more fantastic things here for Westfield. I just, utilize the grant process, yes, but I think we need to change the relationship a bit to keep more money here.
Okay, Mr. Boyce?
Thank you. Our relationship with with Union County, I think there's the reason why we had a fractured relationship with them, and there's a reason why it's now improving. While no one likes so much tax dollars going to the county, the reality is they do provide a lot of services. The county parks, the sheriff's office, county prosecutor's office, county clerk, engineering departments, they do a lot. Does it flow back to us dollar for the dollar? No. I come from a large family, and my dad used to kind of portion the dollars to where the needs were greatest, and that's the reality. But I am pleased that we now have a freeholder from Westfield. I think that Ms. Mudad is advocating hard for Westfield, and they are They are delivering for Westfield in certain areas. One of the areas that I think that, doesn't get discussed is that over 1,800 meals delivered to homebound Westfield residents. So, yes, we should continue to improve our relationship with the county. Yes, we should continue to seek grants as they're available. And yes, we should continue to leverage our relationship with the current county freeholder.
Thanks. This may be the final round. We're going to start with Ward 3. Mr. LaGrippo, are you satisfied with the state of the parks and ball fields in Westfield?
Well, over the years in Westfield, some of the best relationships we have made is through youth sports. I remember when my kids first started playing sports, how excited we were that they were playing field sports. I also coach my son's travel baseball team. My wife, Maria, is on the treasurer of the girls softball team. And the frustration is when you visit other towns, you see firsthand the quality of fields that they have, and you wonder why we don't have that in Westfield. Over the years, I worked with the Recreation Department. Most recently, we did improvements at Mindawaskin Park with the upgraded playground. About 4 years ago, we started the pursuit to get bathrooms at Memorial Field, which I'm happy to say we've done. And I'm committed to moving Westfield forward and upgrading our parks and facilities for future generations. Following the devastation of Hurricane Sandy, the town suffered greatly. We lost a lot of trees in our parks and our tree canopy streets. And one of the things I'm most proud of being on the town council for 2 terms is we've planted over 2,000 trees working with our DPW professionals.
Mrs. Gilman?
Yeah. Parks really are a quality of life issue here in town. And one aspect of that is fields for athletics, whether it's adult or youth sports, because we do have some great adult sports teams too. But it's not the only way that our parks are used. So we absolutely need to address our shortage of fields and the way field use is allocated in town and be creative with that. And our strategic parks plan is looking into that. The one piece in addition to that is our parks are not just for athletes. Our parks are used for people pushing a baby stroller, teaching your child how to ride a two-wheeler, Tai Chi for seniors. So we need to make sure that our parks are meeting the needs of everyone in the community, and that's why I love that the Strategic Parks Plan gave everyone a voice and the opportunity to speak their needs of our open spaces here in town. We're a dense community in suburban New Jersey. We don't have a lot of space. So the way we use it needs to be well thought out, not just a quick Band-Aid approach.
Okay, Ward 4, Mr. Stokes?
Yes, thank you. So, having 4 children, I've paid my fair share of usage fees for these new fields, and many other families have done the same. And unfortunately, their children in those families will never get to see these fields because they've been put on hold. I agree there's more to our parks than just fields, but since it was just mentioned as ballparks, I'll touch on that. But I do believe our parks have to be accessible and provide opportunities for everyone in the community, like our downtown needs to provide for everyone. But when I hear Councilman Grippo say it takes 4 years for the bathrooms to be upgraded in Tamaulipas Park, that takes too long. A master plan is required by state law every 10 years. The master plan just gives broad suggestions. It does not give specifics. We have to go back and figure out, excuse me, what specifics we need. So my concern here is with all the usage fees that we've collected, what time frame? And I want to ensure that time frame is sped up so our families can enjoy these ballparks and fields. And also, we need to work better with the Board of Ed, because when you go to McKinley Field for your daughter to play softball or your son to play baseball, the fields need to be improved also. So there's also that joint shared service with the Board of Ed that we also need to work on. But I'm all for improving our fields and ballparks, but doing it sooner than later, because our families and our children deserve it.
Okay, Mr. Katz?
So I live across the street from Tamaulipas Park. Sitting on my front porch, I have a really great view of the path leading out to the pond. I would hate for anything to happen to that because it's a lovely point of view for us and our family. But we've used that park over the years for everything from freezing cold, hangover runs, 5Ks, and walking our children and playing in the playgrounds. But also my son was a baseball player. Some of the best times I've ever had were walking with my little son in second grade to flag football early in the morning and freezing our butts off. And what an amazing opportunity. That's a great program, but there are a gazillion kids on that flag football field. We have more and more kids every year playing sports from the flag football, obviously, and now Frisbee is even a sport, and the kids playing Frisbee are fighting for time on our fields. But that doesn't mean we need to take our parks and turn them into athletic fields. I know we need to work with our Board of Education. There are other fields out there that maybe we can work a little closer with the Board of Education. I work in North Jersey a lot of time, in towns like North Bergen. Some more urban areas have used interesting ways. I mean, they don't have any fields, so they're putting fields on top of buildings. It's possible that we can look into ideas such as this outside of the box. I hate to go back to that cliche, but maybe there are other ways that we can go about trying to find field time.
Okay, Mr. Bonaccio?
There's a lot here on this. So I think one of the mistakes that we're making, we had a Tamacos plan that got shelved, and I think what we're doing is presuming that that plan needs to be set aside and that we can only do one plan to the exclusion of another. And I think that's a mistake and a misunderstanding of what a master planning process is about, right? So a master plan process is going to set up an overarching thought of what something should look like. It's as Councilman Stokes said, it's a top line move. Then you're going to spend another year figuring out a way to implement that. Then you're going to spend another year figuring out how to build it. Then you're going to spend another year doing it, and it just simply takes too long. So one of the things that we can do is take the plan that we had for Tamacos, which, and I don't agree with the notion that it wasn't done with community input, and implement that and couple that with the overall parks plan that we have. This way we can get started on one thing while we're planning the rest of the other. We utilize what we have and add it to what we're developing. We absolutely need a more active and stronger rec commission. Some of the issues that we have aren't just fields, it's how we're scheduling the leagues that we have. One league shouldn't get one priority over another. Our rec commission can help resolve those scheduling disputes and can help build that relationship with the Board of Ed. It is more than just fields, but I think we need to get started on something sooner than later, or else we're going to have another generation of Westfield athletes who are going to be watching kids play on fields that they wish they had themselves. My daughter plays soccer. I've coached her home games in Edison, Garwood, and Cranford, and we got to play our home games at home.
Okay, Mr. Boyce?
So the lack of field space is really well documented, and part of the problem is that these fields are always being used, and as a result, we're not able to properly maintain them. There's some discussion recently about why don't we aerate the fields and seed them. The reality is you can do that, but then you need to have those fields dormant for a couple months, and there's the constant use. No one is going to say, yeah, I'll give up that field for 2 months. So I am fully in support of the strategic parks plan, and hopefully within that we're going to locate some locations for some new fields. There's no doubt we need more fields, but we do need that the public input and strike the proper balance between athletic fields and open spaces.
Okay, and Mr. Parmalee?
Thank you. I think Mr. LaGrippo, Mr. Stokes, Mr. Bonaccio referencing parks plans being put on hold. I think everyone will recall that was the Tamacos Park renovation plan. And I have to tell you, I actually initially disagreed with Mayor Brindle with her decision to put that plan on hold. But that was until I actually did some homework and realized that she was right. It was a classic example of reactive, opaque leadership. The plan wasn't even close to being implemented, didn't address any of the parking issues. It barely enhanced the fields that we had there. It included a 9,000 square foot structure smack dab in the middle of the park, and it didn't incorporate real community input, including the moms who want to walk around the park with the stroller. Look, I know we have a fields problem. I'm committed to improving the fields, and that's one of the reasons that I want to run. I'm committed to improving the fields pursuant to the Strategic Parks Plan, but I'll tell you something. Mr. Stokes, being on council doesn't mean we strive to benefit only our children. My kids may not get to play on that field either, but the goal is to plan for generations to come and to allow for growth and changing needs. And this is an opportunity to be a leader in this instance, and I think that that's what we can do.
Okay. And now we're going to move on to closing statements. Each person will have up to 3 minutes to deliver their statement, and we will rotate between the parties. And first up is Mr. Bonaccio.
Sure. So a couple of weeks ago, my daughter came back from her second fifth grade dance, and I listened to her talk about all the fun stuff that she and her friends had done there, and they were talking about the things and laughing at the things that fifth graders should be talking about and laughing at. And, you know, it sort of broadened the idea why I was running to me. So I first thought, you know, I'm running to help people, right? I'm running to take some responsibility for the community that we live in, to make it my job to make sure that our families feel safe in their neighborhoods and have places to go downtown. But when I really thought about it and saw this happening, you know, it made me think there's really quite a bit more than that. It's about developing a place for our kids where they're going to be happy to grow up, a home that they're going to be safe in and going to enjoy living in, and a place where, as so many of our residents do, they're going to want to move back to. And if that's, you know, if that's not a motivation for doing this, I don't know what else it could possibly be. We spend a lot of time, unfortunately, on the national scene talking negatively about politics and going at each other as if there's, you know, elevating the game to more than what the process should be. And, you know, I mentioned this because before we got up here, Jim had come over to me, and we had both talked about why we were running and what we were doing. We both came to an agreement that, you know, however this is going to work out, you know, this is a great starting point for folks to work together. That if he's in, I'll back him up. If I'm in, he's going to back me up. And I think it's a great example to set. So as we start debating serious issues, to make sure that we focus on those issues and look for pathways to work together. So thank you for saying that, and I'm certainly going to reiterate that. We have challenges in town, but I see those challenges as possibilities. I see every empty storefront in town as the next business that's going to redefine the retail paradigm and make Westfield a place that people look to fix their downtown problems. I see some of the safety and security issues that we're having in the First Ward as an opportunity to build networks of neighbors that are only going to strengthen our communities and make them better. We're going to turn a negative into a distinct positive. I see the fields as an opportunity for us to take planning that's been done in the past and merge it with good planning that's being done going forward, to work together and not say whose is whose and what's is what's, but what's best for the town of Westfield. And, you know, as I think about, you know, where we're going with this, you know, I look at the experience I have, I look at, you know, my work in the law, I look at my work in commercial real estate, and, you know, what I found in any job that I've taken is when people have needed something to get jump started, that's the stuff that finds its way on my desk. That's the red wall I got. So I'm looking forward to getting to work, and I hope to have your vote to do so.
Thank you. Mr. Boyce?
Okay. Thank you to the Westfield leader, Fred Rossi, and all of you here and watching online. My name is Jim Boyce, and I come from a small Irish Catholic family. I'm one of 8. And I met my wife in high school, and we married after graduating college. And when it was time to start a family, we chose Westfield. And we chose Westfield because of its charming neighborhoods, its quaint downtown, its excellent schools, but also for its strong sense of community. In 1989, we purchased a 2-family home close to the downtown. Built in the late 1800s, it was neglected and needed much work. We rented out the upstairs for the first 10 years while renovating, and eventually, little by little, with a lot of sweat, we were able to restore it back to its single family. In fact, you can still find me working on it most weekends. We love our home, and we feel fortunate to have raised our 3 children here. Over the years, I've coached youth sports, I've served on the Mayor's Parking Advisory Committee, and I currently volunteer on the Westfield Green Team and the Ward 1 Community Connect. And I've enjoyed serving this community, and I treasure the relationships that have developed as a result. As for my professional background, I'm an environmental engineer by trade, and I think like an engineer. I trust science, and I seek fact-based solutions. As a risk specialist for an insurance company, I've worked to identify, evaluate, and mitigate risks. So risk management is central to the work I do and is essential to any organization, whether it's a Fortune 500 company or a mid-sized New Jersey town. And I know my skills can assist the town as it works to revitalize the business district while remaining fiscally sound. I believe in the proactive energy and transparency that we're currently seeing in the town administration. With the upcoming adoption and implementation of the master plan, it's critical to have smart, dedicated, and fair-minded individuals on the town council, people who can work together to achieve a common goal of making Westfield a more livable and prosperous community for future generations. And that's important to me, because I would love for my children, or yours, to return to Westfield someday and start their own families in a community that I have played a role in strengthening. So here's my pledge to you: to be accessible, to listen and act upon your thoughts and concerns, to always be ethical, and to focus on that which brings Westfield to a better place. I humbly ask for your vote on November 5th. Thank you.
Okay, and next up is Mr. Parmalee.
Thanks to everybody on the Westfield Leader and our moderator, Fred Rossi, and of course, thanks to everyone who's here participating and who may be watching online. Tonight, I'd like to close by sharing with you who I am, why I'm running, and why I think I'm the best candidate for Ward 2. My beautiful wife, Megan, who's sitting here also, and I fell in love with this town when we first drove here from New York City 21 years ago. And we loved it so much that we actually bought the first house we saw that same day. I've lived in the same house in Ward 2 for the entire time. And my wife and I are raising 4 kids here in Westfield: Christopher, Cameron, Carson, and Colby. You might sense a trend in the C's there. All of them went to or currently attend the public schools, and I've coached youth sports for several years, and I've been on the sidelines for more lacrosse, basketball, and football games than I can count. I've always felt lucky to live in Westfield. In 3 minutes, however, doesn't give me remotely enough time to tell you why. But I think this one story does a pretty good job. So we've been living in Westfield for just a few weeks, and I was walking a mile from my house to the train station this day in the rain when Saul Heitner pulled up next to me. Saul lived down the street from me, and I'd never met him before that rainy day. He was headed to the train, and he offered me a lift. And what began as that simple act of neighborly kindness turned into years of rides I never saw me walking, and a friendship that's continued these 21 years later. And among other things, those 5-minute car rides, Saul convinced me to do the Washington School Show. That's the largest fundraiser for the school, which I performed in for 13 years. And the show introduced my wife and I and our family to neighbors who became great friends. It established our sense of community and made Westfield truly feel like home. And that morning in the rain, I knew I made the right decision in moving here. Saul's basic generosity is just emblematic of the strength of character and community that makes Westfield such a great place to live. Professionally, I've got 23 years of experience as an attorney, and I'm a partner in a global law firm where I work as a securities litigator. And prior to that, I was a prosecutor in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office for 7 years. My work's taught me to be critically analytical and evaluative. I need to understand the weaknesses of my case in order to fairly evaluate the strengths. And through all that, I've developed strong analytical, strategic, and leadership skills. Westfield's awesome. I love this town. And I'm always amazed by how many kids who grow up in Westfield return to Westfield once they're adults. And that's why I want to do my part in making certain Westfield's a thriving, vibrant place where our kids want to return. After the elections in 2017, we really began to see meaningful change with proactive leadership that's made a difference over these past 2 years. And as I sit here today, I see a Westfield that has a thought-out, well-planned vision for success with representatives who are actually proactive, responsive, and transparent, with open-door accessibility, creative minds, and a strong commitment to fiscal responsibility. Westfield's given me and my family a lot, and this is my opportunity to give back to a town that's given me so much. My name is Mark Parmalee. Thanks so much for supporting me, and please get out to vote on November 5th.
Okay, next up is Mr. LaGrippo.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you for everyone being here this evening. Thank you to my amazing wife, Dr. Maria LaGrippo, and my 2 kids, Francesco and Gemma, for being here this evening. Westfield is our home, and we love this community. and my wife and I couldn't imagine raising our kids anywhere else. This is why you can count on me to work with Republicans, Democrats, and Independents alike to always put community before politics. I am proud of my record on town council. I've helped the town earn its AAA bond rating. Collectively, we passed last year's budget with a 0% tax increase. We've planted over 2,000 new trees in town over the years, and I've always supported public safety measures and first responders. I have been an advocate for our commuters, fighting for a one-seat ride, and this past year I worked together with the mayor to lay the foundation for our updated town master plan. I believe that better quality transportation and improved parking options will boost opportunities for our businesses in downtown. I'm not some polished politician. I'm a husband, a dad of two. I coach my son's travel baseball team. I commute to work. I pay taxes, and I enjoy public service and giving back to our community. That's just how I was raised and who I am. Westfield has always been good to my family in the 12 years we've been here. I love being councilman because it's a direct and tangible way to give back to our community. Over the past 8 years, I've spent countless hours outside election season, walking the Third Ward, getting to know new residents, and helping any way I can. Our neighbors know that they can count on me to deliver for them, whether it's working to keep residents informed amidst a crisis like Hurricane Sandy, or helping to plant new trees in the aftermath. It's always an honor to serve this community. I'm asking for your support because I know the ward very well, and I always fight to move Westfield forward. Serving community should never be about politics, and I always work with everyone to keep the Westfield the best it can be. We love Westfield, and thank you very much.
I asked both sides before tonight if they wanted to tweak the order of closing statements, so we did. So we're going to go to Mr. Katz now for his.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Just a quick thanks to Fred and the Westfield Leader for hosting this evening, and to all of you following along in the audience and those of you at home. My wife Caroline and I moved to Westfield 17 years ago to raise a family. We now have 2 teenagers and never once regretted our decision to move here. When I started my campaign, I made a promise to myself that I would be true to myself and show people who I really am. Although, of course, I want to win based upon who I am and what I can bring to the process. So if you know me, you know that cycling is important to me, and our outdoor spaces, specifically Tamaqua Park, are very important to me. I held several events at the park because I wanted to highlight the natural beauty of Tamaqua, and I wanted to help people get into the park and to use it. I also attended the park's planning workshops, and through my campaigning, I happened to meet a young man who was also interested in the parks and mobility issues around town. Our discussions inspired him to go further with his own project, his own vision of how he wants to get to school by skateboarding. This requires improved safety and better bike lanes throughout the town. To me, this is what being a councilman is about, having these discussions and actively making things more livable for others in the town. I'm not just a guy who cycles, I'm a father and a husband, and at one point in our lives, my wife and I were that sandwich generation. We're caring for our children, but also caring for my wife's parents who are getting older. Like so many families, we faced a lack of information and spent hours searching for services to help Caroline's parents. This is why I see such importance with the Mayor's Senior Advisory Council. There are people who want to remain in Westfield, are looking for more social opportunities, and who need help finding services. Having this resource is so valuable. I'm a graduate of Tulane University with a degree in economics. I've been in business for 25 plus years. I was lucky enough to work for a family-owned business for 15 plus years, where I learned every aspect of it, from sales and building client relationships, human resources, software procurement and implementation, and fleet and physical plant maintenance. And when I say every aspect, I really mean that. So every Friday afternoon of my senior year in high school, I had the illustrious job of cleaning the warehouse bathrooms. At the time, I sort of resented having to do it, but I didn't complain too much. I later found out my older brother did the same thing the year before, and I realized it was a rite of passage, that nothing was a given, and I would have to earn every position I gained in life. Through that experience, I was dedicated to learning every single aspect of running our business, and I promised myself I would never ask anyone to do anything that I wouldn't or hadn't done before. There's no aspect of any job that I will shy away from, not in business, not in my personal life, and not as your councilman. I know there is still a lot of work for me to learn in the business of running this town, but I am dedicated to learning every nook and cranny. So thank you very much.
Okay, next up is Mr. Stokes.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to thank Mr. Katz, and thank all the other candidates and all their families. I know what kind of pressure it puts on you, especially during election season. I'd also like to thank my wife, Josephine, been through this a couple times, and of course, my family. So, I'm seeking re-election because Westfield really means a lot to my family as it does for everyone else here. I'm fortunate enough, more so my wife than I, we have 3 Eagle Scouts, well, soon to last be. We'll have 3 Eagle Scouts, 1 Gold Award for Girl Scouts, and we've raised our family on service. I am not a career politician either. I work in education. So what you see is what you get here, and what you get is passion and someone that's willing to work with everyone. Councilman Contract and I, we're working very closely on getting this 69 kV line thing out of our neighborhoods, and it's going quite well. Sometimes we debate over some green things, but, when the mayor and council members were elected, I went over to Ferraro's and I congratulated them on that day. I walked over there. Councilwoman Mackey and I, we respond to emails as we. We include both names because it's important for residents to see that we're working together for them to improve quality of life. And that's what I care about in Westfield, quality of life. And sometimes I do pass votes that people don't understand. Why am I passing that vote? It's because I do my research, I meet, I ask the tough questions, and I think about quality of life for those residents, not just in the 4th Ward, all of Westfield. And sometimes it's hard to be that independent thinker, but I've done that, and I'll continue to do that again. Some of my accomplishments are COA. We took the Armory off the list. They wanted to make the Armory high-density housing. We also changed the density. We do need some improvements with parking and traffic flow. We understand that, but we managed COA for Westfield. We managed the affordable housing, so builders cannot come in and say, you need a 500-unit complex. We managed that. I was part of that. I also met with the core team that had 7-Eleven reduce the hours. I was part of that meeting when we met with 7-Eleven. I want to keep the we in Westfield. There seems to be a lot of I. I want to continue to work on that we. I am part of that we. And then finally, it's hard being an independent thinker. It's hard when you make tough decisions, and it's hard when you think about your kids going to school the next day and other kids saying, why did your dad vote that way? Well, your dad voted that way because your dad didn't take the easy vote. Your dad voted for what he felt was best based on the research that he did. And I will continue to do that, and I'll continue to make these accomplishments for the town of Westfield in keeping Westfield an inclusive community for all that people want to go, today's generations and future generations.
Thank you. And Mrs. Gilman goes last, and then if you could just stick with me for 30 seconds after she's done, just for some election information. So.
Great. Thank you to the Westfield leader, to Mr. Rossi, to everyone that's here watching and also at home. My name is Jen Gilman, and I'm running to be your Ward 3 councilwoman. I've spent the last 6 months knocking on every door in Ward 3, where my neighbors have learned that my husband and I chose Westfield because we love the downtown, the beautiful tree-lined streets, and the strong sense of community. This is the place we've chosen to raise our 2 young daughters who attend Jefferson. I'm a teacher, Girl Scout troop leader, active PTO volunteer, and former legislative leader for Moms Demand Action. I've advocated for my students for common sense safety legislation, and I'm ready to advocate for the residents in Westfield. Responding to constituents' concerns should be a basic expectation of our councilpersons. In July, I proactively advocated for the installation of a beacon light at the intersection of South Ave and Kakiola Place. It is scheduled to be installed within the next couple of weeks. This was a concern of the residents in that neighborhood for years, and no action was taken. Other Ward 3 residents have seen my commitment to public safety and have reached out about other concerns regarding road striping and sidewalks. I promise to advocate for infrastructure improvements such as road paving, sidewalk protections, and overall safety measures that residents will benefit from. Being proactive is what you can expect from me. It's also what I believe sets the Brindle administration apart from prior administrations. Westfield is an amazing town, but our prior complacency means we have a lot of catching up to do. In addition to listening to constituent concerns, we need to be proactive in identifying them as they occur. I want to be on the team that's demonstrated this kind of proactive leadership, because that's how I operate in my own life. You only need to look around this panel to see that I would bring a different perspective to council, And when Mayor Brindle first asked me to run, I paused because I knew what a huge commitment being on town council is. But I realized the most worthwhile things are the hardest things. And I also felt like it would be inauthentic if I also didn't follow through on the pledge that I take with my Girl Scouts every month to serve God and country. So I'll close by thanking Mark for his service and to Maria and the kids for the sacrifice that they've made. I also want to thank my husband Keith for his unwavering support and to my two beautiful daughters at home, for whom I always strive to set a good example. I'm invested in making Westfield a place where all families are welcome, a place where we continue to have a local government that proactively looks to solve problems, not just use a quick Band-Aid approach. At my core, I believe in bringing people together and putting in the work that's needed. I'm honored to have the opportunity to serve on town council, and I look forward to earning your vote on November 5th.
Thank you. And just a quick reminder that Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th. The polls are open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Besides the council elections here, there are also races for the Board of Education, county freeholders, and the State Assembly. Any questions about your polling place, please refer to your sample ballot that you should be receiving in the next week or so, or you can call the town clerk's office at 789-4033, extension 4032. Monday, November 4th is the last day for anyone to apply for a mail-in ballot in person. Thank you to the candidates, and thank you to the audience for your participation.